Welcome back. As you know, the world has really changed over the last 70 years, and so has the technology we use to bring you the news. Whether you like it or not, technology has become a mainstay in our everyday lives. Zach Fuller has a look at how TV tech has evolved.
KTTC Television 10, Rochester.
As time goes on, things, people, and businesses evolve. KTTC is no different. Ask any reporter, photographer, or anchor who has worked here over 70 years, and the equipment and technology they've worked with is different across the generations. Back when KTTC, then KROC, started on air in 1953, things were much different back then. TVs were mainly still black and whites. While color TV was becoming more popular, it wasn't until 1966 that KTTC started broadcasting local programming in color. Stories and footage were shot in film back then, with photographers needing at least 35 minutes to develop the film. Then came along recording to tape, which was a little faster but still took time to edit the tapes together. In the TV world, this is known as analog.
The days with film and just processing the film, and you had to be done shooting your stories by about 4:30 in the afternoon in order to get the film processed, run it through, get it dry so that these guys could actually sit down and manually edit it for a 6 p.m. newscast.
It wasn't until the early 2010s that KTTC switched to a digital format for footage, now storing up to 64 gigabytes of sound and video in this little SD card, allowing a reporter to have a story uploaded to a server and ready to air in seconds.
So that's definitely made it easier, and it's allowed for breaking news to happen in real time.
But it's not just how footage is shot. Even the newscast itself has seen changes, with anchors reading paper scripts and having large TVs behind them for monitors, to the invention of the teleprompter, allowing the anchor to read words while looking at the camera. As the years went on, even the sets for newscast evolved. Remember this high-tech invention in 2011?
We have a lot of TVs, and they're not just televisions, they're high-definition flat screens. Over 40 of them were purchased for our HD upgrade.
Now with LED lights and large HD monitors, news graphics and the shows themselves have never been more advanced.
To stay in the game, the technology, you need to design a set that has technology in it instead of a stagnant set that didn't have technology in it.
While some things slowly evolve over time, eventually there will be a period of boom.
And every year they're coming out with new thought processes and new ways of doing things with the technology. So it's been quite the whirlwind, and it's a lot to keep up on.
And sure, while black and white to color was huge, analog to digital might have been even bigger, which included this.
KTTC went HD for the first time.
But that was the biggest difference that's happened in the last 20 years, without a doubt.
What came years after shutting off analog in favor of digital came high-definition television. KTTC's first HD broadcast was March 20th, 2011, a Sunday evening.
Live from KTTC, the area's most watched late news.
But it's not just news that has seen technology upgrades. How weather is forecasted has drastically changed. Weather was first drawn on chalkboards before moving to a magnet system.
Those clouds out west managed to move into our area, leaving us with a little more flurry activity today than we were expecting, but still didn't do much but put some slippery spots on our roads and bridges.
To now being forecasted with clear graphics from a green screen that can show many different slides. And putting on a newscast took many people. A producer, audio operator, and director were needed for decades, with people operating the cameras behind the scenes. Then the cameras became automated, including the ones here at KTTC, which are controlled with the click of a mouse. And something just started last month is automated shows. Now, with the click of a button, a newscast director can move from an on-camera shot to B-roll of a story and bring up news graphics.
KTTC Television 10, Rochester.
A human only had 2 hands and 10 fingers, and they couldn't reach everything at once. Now with the coding, we can do more advanced things.
Lastly, technology has impacted each and every one of our lives, with how we get our news to where we see the news. Before, you had to make sure you tune in at a certain time to catch the day's big stories, or make sure you recorded on VHS or DVD to go back and watch. Now, you don't need cable or an antenna to access the news. All you need is the KTTC app on a streaming device or smart TV, and with the invention of the computer and internet, on KTTC's website or social media pages, individual stories are right at your fingertips by simply touching a screen. Needless to say, technology has impacted our lives in the last 70 years, with it only growing better and faster by the day.
Well, technology has evolved so far that we can actually broadcast live from this. Cell phones are now so powerful that we can use them to send TV quality live video back from any location with signal, effectively replacing our live trucks out back.
In 1963, KTTC was still a young station, just 10 years old. As the station continued to grow and make a name for itself, we were entering a tumultuous time in our country. Megan Zempel took a look at the years from 1963 to 1972.
This era brought turmoil and divisiveness, and a young KTTC was there to cover it all.
The year was 1963. The country was rocked by the assassination of President John F. Kennedy on November 22nd. Beatlemania was taking over, and the Civil Rights Act was signed into law in 1964, prohibiting discrimination based on race, color, religion, or sex. The country mourned when Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968. The United States joined the Vietnam War on April 1, 1965. Many young men were drafted, including those from southeastern Minnesota and northern Iowa. And in 1969, the country celebrated as the Apollo 11 mission landed on the moon. Reporters and anchors at KTTC covered these national events, but also local stories that sent shockwaves through the community. Like in 1967, when the Norton Hotel in downtown Rochester burned to the ground, killing 3. Mayo Clinic was growing, along with IBM. They were the 2 biggest employers in Rochester. The 1960s brought new innovation with IBM, including systems totally developed in-house in Rochester's lab. In 1964, Mayo Clinic celebrated its centennial, marking 100 years since Dr. William Mayo first opened a medical practice in Rochester. For KTTC, it celebrated the 10th year of the Eagles Cancer Telethon in 1964. It's still going strong today, raising more than $22 million for cancer research. KTTC received the National Association of Broadcasters Service to America Award just this past April in recognition of decades of service to the community.
It was a decade that would change the face of Rochester forever. When we return, the year our city was underwater.